Woo, alrighty, awesome. Hey everybody, thanks for coming by. My name is Matt Chacon. I appreciate everybody coming. I know there's a pool party at 6, so thanks for coming. So who am I and why should you care? As I said, my name is Matt Chacon. I am the CEO of DogHead Simulations. And my company creates a software product called Rumi that is fundamentally improving the way that people educate and communicate. So let me give you a little background on me before we get moving. So I grew up in poverty in South Central Phoenix, Arizona. I couldn't afford college and didn't have any scholarships, so I entered the workforce at 18. And that experience left me with 3 very important lessons. It taught me to be strong, never give up, and education is the only way to survive. It's the #1 thing that we can all do to not only improve our own station in life, but to also improve the world at large. So here I go into the workforce at 18 and didn't really know anything, but what did help is at that time, in the early 90s, there was this crazy new thing called the internet, which nobody seemed to know about. So my buddies and I started a website development company, and we enjoyed a successful IPO a few years later. And since then, I've kind of been doing that for about the last 20 years, starting and growing software companies throughout Arizona and Seattle. And after 9/11, I had a very short detour into counterintelligence and then came back. And now here we are. So definitely stick around for this talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have to go back and forth as I click through my notes. Alrighty. So smoking, sugary soft drinks, and the current classroom environment. What do all of these 3 things have in common? Does anybody know? Yes, they're all bad for you. But the crazy, so good job, you get the first of my free drink tickets. The crazy thing is that none of these things have fundamentally changed in over 100 years. That's bananas. But the good news is we can fix that. But first, we've got to rethink how we teach and how we learn. Now, my software is a VR solution that is doing just that, but this talk is not about me, and it's not about my company, so I want to put that out of the way real fast. But you'll see my logos because I'm repurposing slides. So this talk is about each and every one of you. So whether you've been a student or an educator, or whether you currently are a student or an educator, I think you're going to find this talk pretty important. It's all about educating and learning across each of our own very unique and distinctly human realities. VR, as you know, is re-engaging people in immersive and social environments, but it's doing more than that. It's actually having the unifying effect of bridging social class, closing the resource gap, which is actually quite amazing, and freeing our own distinct capabilities to simulate, visualize, and interact. Now, I'm guessing all of you probably already know this. That's why you're here at this conference, so I'm not telling you anything new. So instead of focusing on that, let's actually, did that not work? Talk about these 2 people. So why are they so sad? Tammy, the teacher, and Sam, the student. They're obviously not very happy campers, but why? Well, they're both suffering through the current online education experience. And it's pretty bad. I mean, the reason it's so bad is because they're suffering from isolation and a lack of engagement. And they're both finding it extremely difficult to educate and train online. Now, I don't know if anyone is familiar with this. I mean, has anyone gone to school ever? So you probably know what this is. I think we've all suffered through this. So this represents about 75 total hours of lecture, homework, quiz, exam. And the crazy thing is that this cycle has not changed since ancient Greece. This is the fundamental concept for how we learn, and it just hasn't changed. That's crazy. But using VR, we can actually reduce this to about 8 total hours of very meaningful instructor and student time. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, companies like Boeing are already seeing increases in learner improvement by ignoring this and using VR. Stanford University's Virtual Human Interaction Lab is doing the same thing, and in fact, they're able to prove through various studies and research projects increases in learner improvement simply due to the immersive nature of VR. And I'm assuming everyone in this room has experienced VR in one way, shape, or form, right? There's a lot of different experiences out there. But what this is doing is actually dramatically improving the way we educate and learn. And it's producing educated adults that actually have a positive impact on not only the world at large, but actually our own economies. And current educational practices that are following this are suffering from the deficiencies that are driven by the economics and the processes that are higher education. It just hasn't changed since, 2,400 years? So simply put, today's learning environments are falling short of state-of-the-art learning capabilities, and we're all here to change that. VR is changing that. And this represents a $2 trillion industry that is all of higher education. So let's actually take a look at the VR market more specifically. Let me go back to my slide here. Okay, so obviously the market opportunity to perform distributed education on online learning in VR is very, very clear. People respond to stories, so I'm going to throw some facts at you, but hopefully not keep it too dry. So the VR education market specifically, not the VR market, but the education market is going to grow at about a compounded annual growth rate of about 55%, which is amazing. And it's going to exceed $1.7 billion, those are the projections, in 3 years. I mean, 3 years is not a long time. Just think back of what you were able to accomplish in the past 3 years. So this is where the industry is heading. It's pretty exciting. But what's more exciting is that almost 50%, so 49% of high school teachers believe that using VR as the classroom, not in the classroom, but as the classroom, is actually going to entice those students to pursue higher education. And I don't know about you, but that makes me pretty goddamn happy. So it's a very good thing. All right, so let's revisit these two people, Tammy the teacher and Sam the student. So now, just look at how happy they are, right? So why are they so happy? They're using VR to improve the educational experience. VR, as you all know, I'm sure, is engaging people in immersive and social environments that leverage our very natural desires for learning, for socializing, for engagement, and honestly, self-expression. It enables the students and instructors to do something that's actually pretty important, and I'm not sure a lot of people are considering this. Because there's no distractions there, we're now able to monotask. We've got over, 40 some odd years of cognitive science and studies that actually prove that people who monotask are less effective at their jobs, and it's actually bad for you. Crucial information, everyone that tries to monotask, crucial information just bypasses you completely. So think about this. When you've been on a conference call or a web meeting or an online lecture, and you hear that ominous keyboard click, 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 right? Somebody checking their email. I've done it before. Don't do it so much anymore, but I was definitely done. I know a lot of you have probably done that as well. Every time we're distracted by our social media feeds, our cell phones, our texts, our emails, the list just goes on and on and on and on. When you do that, it actually takes you 15 minutes on average to reorient to a primary task. Your effectiveness actually drops by about 40%. And I've got all the studies if you're interested to back this up. It's not just me spouting out numbers. But the crazy thing about this is that, as you can tell from my talk, is that long-term memory actually suffers. So what we're doing every time we kind of steal away a moment during a conference call or a web meeting to check our phones or to type on that email, that really important email we just can't miss out on, we're actually training our brains to remember less. And that's where the cognitive science studies come in. So just think about the last 3 days, meetings you've had or something you've tried to remember. You're like, God, what was I talking about? What was I doing? Well, you can actually stop doing that by just completely cutting out multitasking. And when you meet in VR, you're actually solving that problem through immersive monotasking because you're no longer distracted by all of the things that are ringing and buzzing and going on around you. So VR is radically improving the educational experience by offering us time, place, and cost flexibility. And these two concepts are key to that. MOOCs and SPOCs. Is anyone familiar with MOOCs and SPOCs? Okay, I'll explain it in a little bit. The second slide. There's literally one person in the background, so thanks. So I'm not actually referring to the hordes of disposable bad guys that we all mow down with impunity when we're playing video games. And I am not referring to the beloved science officer of the Starship Enterprise from the original Star Trek. What I'm referring to is this. Oops. Massive online open courses and small private online courses. So I know you may not be familiar with what a MOOC or a SPOC is, so let me just give you a quick background on it. A MOOC is an online distance learning course that is largely open source and unlimited, so anybody can join at any time. And a SPOC is basically the same version of a MOOC, but with smaller and highly personal engagement. So as you can kind of see that I've split them up that way. And those are actual images of customers of ours using our product to teach online courses, and we'll get into that in a second. So we're not actually headed here. That's not where we're going. We're already there. Where we're going is an expansion of these ideas. So let me throw this at you. I am willing to bet that in about 10 years, we're going to see the titans of traditional education just go bankrupt and totally disappear. Not all of them, but we will for sure see some of them just be gone. Why is that? Well, they suffer from a fundamental lack of innovation. They're stuck with legacy systems that can't respond quickly, and they just can't meet evolving market conditions and respond to student and customer demands. And that's a big problem. But does this mean the end of large educational institutions? I think a better question is this. Is there anything that we lose that we don't want lost? So think about when you lose something, right? If you want that thing, you actually find very creative ways to go locate it. If you can't locate it, you'll find a way to recreate it. What we're doing in VR is we're creating new paradigms of interacting that are resulting in a loss of old, less efficient ways of doing things. I mean, how many people here are craving the resurgence of a landline telephone? Probably not a lot. How many people want to travel across country by stagecoach or horseback? I mean, not a lot of people. Like, those are things that were lost, and we don't really miss them too much. So I think that's okay. I think a better question is this. Are there any core values from these large institutions that we're willing to preserve and protect? These old institutions are not immutable, and the great thing is that VR is proving that. So MOOCs and SPOCs offered through VR are enabling us with the unique ability to make education available to people that are separated by distance and by means, and I was one of those people early on in my life. I myself grew up in poverty, as I mentioned to you. I couldn't afford college. I didn't get any scholarships, and I had to go into the workforce at 18. It just so happened that I was born in 1972, and when I was 18, the internet was coming around, and nobody knew what it was, so we just helped create it. It was pure luck of the draw. Had that not happened, I don't know that I would be up here speaking with you today. I don't know what I would be doing. But that's not a new thing, and I'm not special, and I'm not unique. There's a lot of people that were in my same boat. They wanted to be educated, but they just didn't have the means. So consider this. Plato founded, this dude, founded one of the world's first education academies over 2,400 years ago in ancient Greece. The crazy thing is that to this day, education is still limited to only those select few that actually have the means to pay for it. And what I mean by the means is those people that are willing to go tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt just to get a degree. Not a job, but a degree. It's no guarantee of work. I mean, I won't even go into how shameful it is that we pay our educators so little. But simply put, students are paying way too much and educators are paying way too little. And we can do better. So we are now able to provide education to people separated by distance and means, which I mentioned before. The great thing that's happening now is there's a disruption in that $2 trillion industry. Instructors are no longer working for the institutions. It's actually the other way around. The institutions are now working for the instructors. And this is having a profound effect on pedagogy and positively influencing the student-learner experience. So here's an example. These are actual images of a PBS documentary that's upcoming. I think it's going to be maybe next month, the month after. That shows how teachers in Nashville, Tennessee are able to bring education to students or instructors in Nashville, Tennessee are able to bring education to students a world away in Africa. And those are pictures of an actual PBS production crew that are offloading computers and HTC Vives with my company's software on them and bringing them to a tiny little classroom on the island of Pemba in Tanzania. And now, because of virtual reality, those people in Pemba are now able to go to high school. I mean, before that, their education completely stopped at primary school. Think about that. That's pretty profound. These people in Pemba are now able to educate themselves and realize what was once totally unimaginable, just did not exist. And all of us in this room, actually each and every one of you, should be proud of the fact that we are now positively and directly improving human potential all around the world. VR is helping us do that. So these are some of the institutions that actually use VR every day in their educational programs. Full Sail University is using virtual reality. They actually teach game design in virtual reality every single day. Lethbridge College conducted, just a few months ago, the world's first all-day conference held entirely in VR. It was a conference exactly like this. 16 countries, over 600 people from around the world attended this conference in VR. And the University of British Columbia is using VR to improve student projects and the student learner experience. And I highly encourage all of you to, after this talk, pop out to YouTube, look up the UBC videos of them showing how they're actually using VR. And they're having the students tell the instructor why it's better. And it's amazing. It's quite profound. But what I'm highlighting here is this. People no longer go to work in school. They now simply attend work in school. Gone are the days of traveling, long distances to attend college for years at a stretch, and travel for days or even weeks at a time to attend corporate training. And both of those things, by the way, at ever-increasing costs. People now slip on an HMD and transcend the realities of learning for costs as low as a monthly subscription service. That actually makes me pretty excited because excessive student debt is soon to become just a completely thing of the past. And the feedback we're getting from these institutions is quite incredible, specifically in the instructor-student feedback loop. So instant feedback, as I think we probably all know, is better than feedback given even a few seconds later, but not to mention days or weeks. An educator in VR can immediately identify a skill gap in the learner and help correct it in the moment. And here's something that has never before existed in human history. Those are avatars. The learners are partially shielded by the mask of an avatar. And that is actually making them a more active listener and a participant in the critical feedback loop. VR is enabling social interactive feedback at regular intervals that build positively upon each successive feedback moment. And I'm very proud to say that my company is actually leading this charge in education to fundamentally improve how we educate and communicate. So if you want to try the software out for free, you can. You just go to rumii.net, rumii.net, download it for free. It works on any Mac or PC built in the last 4 years. It's multi-platform, works on just about any HMD on the market. And you can start using it for free right now. Thanks, that's it. Real quick, that is my Twitter handle. That's my email address. I'm very open, very transparent, very accessible, and I lived this myself. So if you want to get a hold of me, please do. Thanks. Questions?
Yeah, we have time for one question, and then we have to wrap it up. So if there's no questions, right here.
What's the downside? You always talk about positive.
Yeah, so I think the downsides are industry dependent more than anything else. HMDs are clunky, right? So 80% of our customers actually don't even use VR. They use the desktop versions or the mobile versions. And when we ask them why, they say it's not actually the HMD. No man and woman that we've spoken to wants to do their hair and makeup if they have hair and do this, right? And you can really only stay in VR for about 60 minutes comfortably. So.
Great. Yeah, I don't want to stop the conversation.
We are not, no, but we're heading to MIT in a week. But you can download it for free and start using it. If you have questions, I'm around.
Yeah, we can continue the conversation, but we just have to close this room down. So let's give Matt a big round of applause.